Hi guys, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today I'm going to do my X-Men ranking video. So we're going to do it in a different order. We're going to do it from good to bad. So my favourite choice at the start and the worst of the bunch, in my opinion, at the end of the video. So let's get into it. And welcome back. So yeah, with the release of Deadpool and Wolverine just over a week ago, there's a lot of buzz around that. This won't be included in the ranking because I haven't actually seen that film yet. So yeah, but we'll get into the rest in the video. Right, so let's crack on. Okay, so my favourite X-Men film, this might be a surprise to some, but I think it's a great film, and it is X-Men Days of Future Past, the Rogue Cut. Really like this edition of the film. Yeah, fantastic, getting all of the past and present crew back together, and a slightly different take on this one, you're focusing more on the character of Rogue. So that's my number one choice. Up next, probably a fan favourite for a lot of people, and it's X-Men 2, the sequel to the first X-Men film. Absolutely fantastic film, this, from Bryan Singer back in the day. And yeah, so that's my number two, X-Men 2, sometimes called United. Next up, the film Logan, starring Hugh Jackman, the older Logan, and Professor Xavier as well, played by Patrick Stewart, and X-23 as well. Absolutely fantastic film, this one. Really sort of adult version, and yeah, just love it. Next up, the first one, X-Men. Yeah, this was the one that started it all. Fantastic film, brought to us by Bryan Singer, introducing all the characters that we know and love. That's X-Men. Next up is X-Men First Class, the first of the prequel trilogy, starring James McAvoy as Professor Xavier and Michael Fassbender as Magneto. And we also get Wolverine in a little bit of a cameo in this one as well. So that's X-Men First Class. Next up, the film Deadpool, the first Deadpool film. Really enjoyed this one, kind of an origin story. Yeah, very different in tone, this one, very tongue-in-cheek, bit more adult than some of the other X-Men films. So that's Deadpool. So remember to keep watching, because we're going through this list from good to bad. So at the end of the video, I'll reveal the worst film out of all of the X-Men films, in my opinion. Please remember to subscribe to the channel by hitting that subscribe button down below. And why not leave a comment? What's your best X-Men film? What's your worst? Stick down those comments. Right, let's carry on. Next up, Deadpool 2, the sequel to the first film. Again, really good. Further character development on this one. Very tongue-in-cheek, adult in nature. Absolutely fantastic. Deadpool 2. Okay, so we're nearly halfway through this list, so let's carry on. Next up, X-Men Origins Wolverine. This was one of the films that was supposed to be like focusing on individual characters, but they only did the first one, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I didn't mind it, thought it was good, but it could have been better. Wonderful addition, this one, with that X-ray. Next up, another standalone Wolverine film, The Wolverine. Didn't like this as much as X-Men Origins, but it still was entertaining. All set in Japan, pretty much. Yeah, decent film, but probably not quite as good as X-Men Origins, in my opinion. Next up, X-Men Apocalypse. Part of the prequel trilogy, sort of set in ancient Egypt at times, bringing the apocalypse into modern day. Yeah, it was entertaining. Probably not as strong as some of the other X-Men prequel films, but I still enjoyed it. Okay, so we're down to the last three, so we're getting to the worst of the bunch. Please give the video a thumbs up, that really does help out the channel. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel, and leave a comment down below on your picks of the X-Men ranking. Next up is X-Men Dark Phoenix, the second attempt at the Dark Phoenix story. I thought this one was slightly better than the first, but again, not brilliant. It felt like some of the actors had kind of had enough of doing these films. It's a shame, but it's still a reasonable film, but certainly not as good as earlier iterations. Okay, so we're down to the final two. So there's no surprise on this one. X-Men Last Stand. So this was the first iteration of the Dark Phoenix story. This was the third film in the original trilogy of films. Yeah, it was still entertaining, but probably one of the weaker stories in my opinion. Okay, so down to the final one. What do you reckon it is? No prizes for guessing. New Mutants. Didn't really enjoy this one at all. Hence, I've only got it on DVD. Not even that bothered about getting it on Blu-ray, and certainly not 4K. Yeah, they tried to do something different here, and for me, it just didn't really work. I picked this up cheap. Haven't really rewatched it yet. I've only watched it the once, but yeah, it's something I wouldn't revisit. So I would say this is the worst of the bunch, the baddest of the X-Men films. So that's my ranking of the X-Men films, apart from Deadpool and Wolverine. As I say, I haven't seen that film yet, so I can't comment on that one, but I'm hearing good things, so I'm sure that would be further up the list for me in this ranking. And maybe I'll do another ranking video at some point in a year's time, who knows. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Stick down in the comments, what were your choices? What would you rank? Please give us a thumbs up. Take care, and see you in the next one. Bye now.